Beginner Padel Rackets, the complete guide. If you're thinking about buying your first paddle racket, or maybe you've been playing for a few months and you're wondering whether the racket in your hand is actually helping you improve, then this guide is for you. One of the biggest mistakes new players make is assuming that the best racket is the most expensive racket. It's easy to understand why. You walk into a shop, you see professional players using premium models, you see carbon fiber everywhere, aggressive designs, huge price tags, and you naturally assume that more money means more performance. The reality is far more interesting than that. Many beginners would actually play better, learn faster, and enjoy the game more with a racket that costs significantly less than the models used by professional players. In fact, some of the most advanced rackets on the market can make the game harder for new players. By the end of this guide, you'll understand exactly what makes a racket beginner-friendly, which features matter, which features are mostly marketing, how to avoid wasting money, and how to choose a racket that helps your game develop over the next 12 months rather than holding it back. Let's start with the most important thing of all. When beginners think about rackets, they usually think about power. They want bigger smashes. They want faster shots. They want the racket that looks like it belongs in the hands of a professional. The problem is that beginner padel isn't won by power. Beginner padel is won by consistency. The player who keeps the ball in play longer usually wins. The player who makes fewer mistakes usually wins. The player who controls the ball better usually wins. And that's why so many experienced coaches recommend that newer players prioritize comfort, forgiveness, and control before they think about power. Imagine learning to drive. You wouldn't give a new driver a Formula One car and expect them to learn faster. You would give them something predictable, stable, and easy to control. The same principle applies to padel rackets. The first thing you need to understand is shape. Most padel rackets fall into three broad categories: round, teardrop, diamond. Each shape changes how the racket feels and performs. Let's start with a round shape. For most beginners, a round racket is the easiest option. The sweet spot is larger. The balance tends to be lower. The racket feels easier to maneuver. It is usually more forgiving when you don't strike the ball perfectly. And trust me, when you're new to paddle, you won't strike the ball perfectly every time. The sweet spot is the area of the racket that produces the best result when the ball makes contact. A larger sweet spot means you can be slightly off center and still hit a decent shot. This is incredibly valuable for developing players. You can focus on learning positioning, footwork, timing, and tactics rather than constantly fighting against your equipment. Now let's talk about teardrop rackets. Teardrop rackets sit between round and diamond designs. Think of them as the all-rounders. They offer a blend of control and power. The sweet spot is usually slightly higher. The balance is often more neutral. For many players, a teardrop racket becomes the natural progression after they've spent some time developing their fundamentals. You gain a little more attacking potential without sacrificing too much forgiveness. Then we have diamond rackets. These are the rackets that often attract beginners because they look powerful and professional. The balance is generally higher. More weight sits towards the head. The sweet spot is smaller. They can generate significant power when used correctly. The key phrase there is when used correctly. A professional player with excellent technique can unlock the benefits of a diamond racket. A beginner often struggles to consistently find the sweet spot. That means more mishits, more unforced errors, and less confidence. This doesn't mean diamond rackets are bad. Far from it. They're excellent tools for the right player. They're simply not usually the best starting point. Now let's discuss weight. This is another area where beginners often misunderstand what they need. Many players assume heavier automatically means better. Again, the reality is more nuanced. A heavier racket can produce more stability and potentially more power. However, that extra weight must be moved repeatedly throughout a match. Every volley, every bandeja, every vibora, every defensive shot, every overhead. If the racket is too heavy for your current strength and technique, fatigue arrives earlier, your reactions slow down, your timing suffers, your technique breaks down. For most adult beginners, a moderate weight is usually ideal. You want enough mass to provide stability, but not so much that maneuverability becomes difficult. When choosing weight, think about what you'll feel after 90 minutes of play rather than during the first 5 minutes. A racket can feel great in a shop. The real test is how it feels deep into a match. Now let's talk about balance, because balance is often more important than weight itself. Two rackets can weigh exactly the same. One feels light, the other feels heavy. Why? Balance. A head-heavy racket places more mass towards the top. This can increase power but reduces maneuverability. A headlight racket places more mass closer to the handle. This makes the racket feel quicker through the air and easier to control. For beginners, as lower balance points often provide a more comfortable learning experience. Quick reactions become easier. Defensive shots become easier. Volleys become easier. Control improves. And confidence grows. Confidence is one of the most overlooked aspects of racket selection. When a player trusts their equipment, they swing more freely. They commit to shots. They make better decisions. When a player constantly feels like they're fighting the racket, development slows. Now let's move on to materials. This is where marketing departments become very active. You'll see terms like carbon fiber, 12K carbon, 18K carbon, 24K carbon, fiberglass, hybrid construction, and countless other technical descriptions. Some of these matter. Some matter far less than people think. Let's simplify things. Generally speaking, beginner-friendly rackets often use fiberglass faces. Fiberglass tends to feel softer. It offers more comfort. It generates easier power at lower swing speeds. It provides a more forgiving response. For developing players, these are significant advantages. Carbon fiber is different. Carbon is stiffer. It often delivers more precision. It can provide greater responsiveness. But it also tends to be less forgiving. When your technique is excellent, this can be beneficial. When your technique is inconsistent, it can make the game harder. This is why many coaches recommend softer constructions for newer players. The goal isn't to maximize performance on your best shot. The goal is to improve your average shot. Your average shot determines your level, not the occasional spectacular winner. Now let's discuss racket cores. Most rackets contain some variation of EVA foam. Different manufacturers use different names and formulations. Some are softer, some are harder. A softer core generally feels more comfortable. It absorbs vibration better. It helps generate easy power. A harder core typically offers greater precision and control for advanced players. Again, beginners usually benefit from comfort and forgiveness. Notice a pattern developing? Most beginner-friendly features point towards the same outcome. More forgiveness, more comfort, more consistency. Now let's tackle one of the biggest myths in paddle, the rough surface myth. Many players believe rough surfaces create huge amounts of spin. The truth is more modest. Yes, rough surfaces can help slightly. They may improve grip on the ball. They may provide marginal spin benefits. But the difference is nowhere near as important as technique. A player with excellent technique and a smooth racket will create far more spin than a player with poor technique using the roughest surface available. When buying your first racket, surface texture should be very low on your priority list. Shape matters more. Weight matters more. Balance matters more. Comfort matters more. Material matters more. Don't get distracted by features that sound exciting but have relatively small impacts. Let's talk about budget. This is where many new players become overwhelmed. Paddle rackets can range from relatively affordable models to premium rackets costing several £100s. The question becomes simple. How much should a beginner spend? My general advice is this. Spend enough to get quality. Don't spend extra for features you can't yet use. A good beginner racket should feel comfortable. It should be forgiving. It should come from a reputable manufacturer. It should suit your style and physical characteristics. It does not need to be the flagship professional model. Many players would improve more with a well-chosen mid-range racket than with an expensive professional racket. Remember, professional players choose equipment that matches elite-level technique. Your needs are different, and that's perfectly fine. Now let's discuss different types of beginners. Not all beginners are the same. A former tennis player has different needs compared with someone completely new to racket sports. Let's start with tennis players. Tennis players often generate plenty of racket speed. They usually adapt quickly to paddle. However, they frequently try to hit too hard. A control-oriented round or teardrop racket often helps them develop the softer touch required in paddle. Next, let's consider complete beginners. If you've never played racket sports before, simplicity is your friend. Large sweet spot, comfortable feel, lower balance, forgiving construction. These characteristics accelerate learning. Now let's think about older players. Comfort becomes increasingly important. Reducing stress on the arm, elbow, and shoulder matters. A softer racket often provides a more enjoyable experience. The goal is to play more often and remain injury-free. Now let's discuss stronger athletic players. Many athletic beginners assume they need aggressive rackets immediately. Strength helps, but technique still matters more. Even strong players often benefit from forgiving rackets during the learning phase. You can always move towards a more demanding racket later. The next topic is injury prevention. This deserves serious attention. Padel participation has exploded worldwide. With that growth has come an increase in arm-related injuries, tennis elbow, shoulder discomfort, forearm irritation, wrist pain. Equipment isn't the only factor, but it matters. Very stiff rackets can transmit more vibration. Heavy head-bounced rackets can place greater demands on the arm. Poor technique combined with demanding equipment creates a difficult combination. If you have a history of elbow problems, comfort should become a major priority. Softer material, lower balance, manageable weight, comfortable grip size. These features can all contribute to a more arm-friendly experience. Speaking of grip size, let's spend a moment discussing it. Many players never think about grip size, yet it influences comfort, control, and injury risk. A grip that's too small can encourage excessive squeezing. A grip that's too large may feel awkward and reduce maneuverability. Fortunately, overgrips allow you to customize thickness relatively easily. Don't underestimate small adjustments. Sometimes a minor grip modification can transform how a racket feels. Now let's examine common beginner mistakes. Mistake number 1. Buying the racket used by your favorite professional. Professional players are extraordinary athletes. Their equipment reflects elite requirements. Copying their racket rarely means copying their results. Mistake number 2. Prioritizing power over everything else. Consistency wins matches. Power without control creates errors. Mistake number 3. Ignoring comfort. You might love a racket during the first session. Your elbow might hate it after 10 sessions. Long-term comfort matters. Mistake number 4. Assuming expensive means better. Better for whom? That's the real question. The best racket is the one that helps your game, not the one with the biggest price tag. Mistake number 5. Changing rackets constantly. Improvement comes primarily from practice, not endless equipment changes. Give yourself time to adapt. Learn your racket. Build confidence, then reassess if necessary. Let's talk about progression. What happens after your first year? This is where many players naturally transition. Perhaps you started with a round fiberglass racket. Your technique improves. Your consistency improves. Your confidence grows. You begin attacking more. You start finishing points more effectively. At that stage, moving towards a teardrop shape may make sense. You gain extra versatility, more offensive potential, greater shot variety. The key is progression. Build foundations first. Add complexity later. This principle applies to almost every sport. Let's now look at what a sensible beginner shopping process might look like. Step 1. Identify your experience level honestly. Not where you want to be, where you are today. Step 2. Prioritize comfort and forgiveness. Step 3. Choose a reputable brand. There are many excellent manufacturers. The specific logo matters less than finding the right characteristics. Step 4. Consider your physical profile. Strength age, injury history, playing frequency. Step 5. If possible, test rackets. Even a brief trial can reveal valuable information. Step 6. Ignore marketing hype. Focus on how the racket actually performs. Step 7. Think long-term. Choose a racket that supports development, not just immediate excitement. Now let's discuss value. Value isn't about buying the cheapest racket. Value means obtaining the most benefit for the money spent. Sometimes spending slightly more delivers significantly better quality. Sometimes spending much more delivers very little additional benefit. Understanding that difference is important. The sweet spot of value for many beginners sits somewhere in the middle of quality construction, good comfort, reliable performance, without paying for elite-level technologies that may not yet provide meaningful benefits. Finally, let's bring everything together. If you remember only a handful of ideas from this guide, make them these. First, don't buy a racket based purely on appearance. Second, don't assume professionals use equipment that's right for beginners. Third, prioritize comfort, forgiveness, and control. Fourth, understand that shape, balance, and materials matter far more than marketing buzzwords. Fifth, choose a racket that helps you hit more good shots, not one that promises the occasional spectacular shot. Padel is one of the most enjoyable sports in the world because it's accessible. It's social, it's tactical, it's addictive. The right racket won't magically transform your level overnight, but it can make learning easier. It can improve confidence. It can help you develop proper technique. It can keep you comfortable and injury-free. Most importantly, it can help you enjoy the process. And when you're enjoying the process, you're far more likely to keep playing, keep improving, and keep discovering why so many people fall in love with this sport. So before you buy your next racket, slow down. Ignore the hype. Think about your actual needs. Choose the racket that suits your current game, rather than the player you hope to become one day. Build strong foundations, develop your skills, and let the racket support your journey instead of dictating it. Because the best beginner padel racket isn't the most expensive racket. It isn't the most powerful racket. It isn't the racket with the most technology. It's the racket that helps you play your best paddle today while giving you room to grow tomorrow.